So now remember when we were cropping the hippo, we avoided the very top of his nose here. You see those little tiny hairs, little whisker hairs there? Well, we want to keep those intact. We don't want to just, crop and cut them off. We want to just remove the background and keep the hairs there. So if we did this with the pen tool, it would be just tedious work. We'd have to come through here and go up and down every single little hair, and it would have just been a nightmare. Let me show you a much easier way to do this, and you can do this with fur or longer hair. And again, there's actually a tutorial with the Photoshop Top Secret course called Masking Fur, and that will show you a little bit more in depth on how all this works. But we're going to go ahead and do it on this video as well. So now before I continue, I just want to let you know that we're going to utilize the Smart Object technology in Photoshop CS2 for this one next part, okay? If you don't have Photoshop CS2, if you have an earlier version, then just skip the Smart Object part and just work off the master image that you see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the Smart Object icon on the hippo head layer. Go ahead and click OK, and that will open up the hippo head and a new image here, new window, which is the PSB file. So what I'll do next is zoom in to the very top of his nose. Now if you're working off this image over here, now you can start to follow along with me. So just go ahead and continue along. But we're going to, for Photoshop CS2 users, we're going to go ahead and work off this PSB image. So what I'm going to do is go over here on the toolbar, and you see this little button at the bottom of the toolbar. It's called Edit in Quick Mask Mode. I want you to click on that right now. Then I want you to select the paintbrush. And then I want you to right click on the image to get up the brush options. And we're going to create this size brush here because we're going to paint over the very top of his nose. But for this step, you don't want it to be too small. Okay, I'll just click outside of that. Now make sure that you can see the size of your brush. If your brush looks like a crosshair, which looks like this, you can probably barely see it. It's a lot easier to work with the size of the brush. So all you have to do is press the caps lock key on the keyboard, and you can flip back and forth between the crosshair and the brush size. All right, so here we go, and what I think I'm going to do is come down here and click on the foreground because we're in quick mask mode. So in order to see the mask, we must paint with black. And when we do, we should see red. Now you can make that any color you want, but I won't be getting into that right now. Let's just zoom into the very top of his nose here. With the brush, I want you to just come along, and I want you to pretend like you're cropping the very top of his nose. So in that case, I want you to get very close to the edge of his nose there, or upper lip. I think this is just kind of a combination of both. So, but yeah, you don't want to get in this area here. You just want to go on the very edge. You see that? Now don't worry about the hair right now. I want you to just ignore the hair and go right on the edge of his body. Now you can use this technique on so many different images with hair and fur and antennas. Anytime when you really want to crop a very small, fine detailed area, then you can use this, and this will work on just about anything. Look at that. I'm just going to go right down, and there we go. And it doesn't look like much, but you can see that we've just painted over the edge of this nose here. Great. All right, what's the next step? Well, we must turn down the mask. And basically what I mean is we're going to decrease the visibility of this mask because we need to see the hairs through the mask. Now what you can do is you can actually just make the mask go away completely. But we're just going to go in here to the opacity and maybe just turn that down to 5%. Now the mask is still there, it's just at a very low opacity. And I can just go 20% and you can still just barely see it. But we know it's there, so I'm going to go ahead and just put 5%. And then zoom back into the image just a little bit closer. And to move around the image, I can press the space bar on the keyboard, and that gives me the hand tool to navigate around the image. Let's make sure that the brush tool is selected again, and I want you to right click to get the settings. Now I want you to lower the opacity, or lower the diameter of the brush, excuse me, and I want you to lower that down so the size of the brush is about the same size as the hairs, or as the little whiskers here. So in this case, we're going to have to go pretty small. So we're probably going to have to go like 2 pixels. Yeah. And the hardness all the way up, 100%. Okay. Now I want you to make that foreground, I want you to change that foreground to white. Okay, so click on the foreground color, change that to white. And then I want you to bring, or we can zoom in just a little bit closer here. And all we're going to do is paint where the whiskers are, where the hair is. And I just turn this opacity up just a little bit more, maybe 15%. And that's all you have to do, is paint where you see the whiskers. That's, you know, it's pretty easy to do. I'll just come in here. And I'm probably just going to turn that up a little more because I think, yeah, and if it's, I might have to turn it back down, but now you can see a little bit of what I'm doing here. Almost like reverse masking, sort of. That's, I know, I can't think, that's pretty much what it seems like to me. Now, see, the mask is just a little bit too dark. I'm going to decrease the opacity and grab that brush and just paint where those whiskers are. You can go back and adjust the opacity if you need to. You can turn it up or down just based on where you're at, because I know some darker areas might make those whiskers appear, and some areas they won't appear. So there you go. Just grab the brush and go around here. Wherever you think a little hair is or a little whisker, just click and paint. Now don't go too far. You don't want to go up too far like this because, you know, that's not really... You only want to go so far, right where the little whisker stops is where you should stop. And this is just a lot of fun. Now, if we were to do this with the pen tool, it would just, it would take forever. And it wouldn't be as much fun, I tell you that. Okay, looks like I've done that spot there a couple times. I think I'm going to let it be. And all right, great. So that's pretty good. We don't want to go too crazy. And so let's go ahead and we can turn this mask back up and I can show you something here. Now look at here. See, we've just painted into the mask. We've erased into the mask and revealing the whiskers. All right, so the next step. Well, easy enough. Let's just go back to standard mode. And click on Edit in Standard Mode, this button right here, and you should see this become a selection. The mask that we've just created, that should become a selection. Well, here's the magic, folks. All you have to do is come down over here on the bottom of the Layers palette, and you'll find the Add Layer Mask button right here. Now, as soon as I click that, there is the magic. Now we just see the whiskers and no background. Now we have a little bit of excess area here. That's no big deal at all. I'll just go ahead and, well, I'll just go ahead and select a brush and paint over that to make that go away. Let's zoom out and check it out. Look at that. Now see how crisp that is. All right, so if you are in the PSB file, which is the Smart Object file, then you'll need to save in order for it to effect our master project image over here. So let's go ahead up here to Edit, or I'm sorry, File, and Save. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and close this image. And now this image will update. Look at that.